Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You'll get divorced. You'll get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here with one of our fantastic Fresh Starts experts, Donna S. Donna, can you tell us about what you do?
Absolutely. I'm a financial advisor with a focus on the work that I do with women in transition and divorce. And so I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. And basically what that means in a nutshell is that I'm going to help you make informed decisions about the financial aspects of your divorce before you sign the dotted line and agree to something that may not make sense for you financially.
Yeah, and the work you do is so important. I always say CDFAs are really the person that people should talk to when they're going through divorce, because finances are the scariest part for most people, right, when they're going through a divorce. Now, Donna, I talk to a lot of women who really have no idea what's happening with the finances in their households. Is this something that you also see a lot?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm in the South, and I want to tell you that when I first started working with women and finding that they really weren't, having a financial conversation in their own household, I thought it was just a Southern thing. But I have discovered since that it's not. It's prominent. And this is the reality, Olivia. It doesn't matter whether we're stay-at-home moms, professionals, doctors, lawyers, we all do the same thing. And I think it's not a criticism for women. I think it's because our plates are so full. And if he wants to handle it, yay. Okay, I'll let him. I trust him. But the reality is that we do need to have a seat at that financial table and to understand everything that's going on. You don't have to be expert at it, but you got to know where are the things, what are the things, how does it work? Because at some point you will be on your own statistically because of the number of divorces and the fact that women outlive men.
Right.
So that's why I kind of get on my soapbox about that.
Absolutely. The other thing that really surprised me when I started talking to a lot of women, and not in the South, but all over the country, like you said, is that there's a lot of women who are the breadwinners that also don't really have an idea of what's happening in the family's finances. And there's a lot of financial abuse and mistrust going on. So what can we do about this? In terms of women who are considering divorce and they come to you, Donna, what does that process look like?
I think the biggest thing is acknowledging what you don't know. And I provide my clients with an exhaustive checklist of all of the financial statements that would be relevant to your divorce. So when you use that, I recommend, hey, if you don't own a business, scratch that one out so you don't keep looking at it over and over. But let's put a check mark next to the things that you have documents of or that you have knowledge of. And then clearly what you don't know. And if you aren't able to get that, let's say you're not able to ask your spouse to share the information with you, or he's just not willing to, now you know what to ask your attorney to get for you. So by using that, you've just saved yourself a lot of money with your attorney because they're not having to request things that you're able to hand over to them. But you're also saying, hey, I don't know if he's got a pension or not. I think we have life insurance, but I have no idea. So you're kind of creating that conversation and the starting point for your divorce attorney.
Yeah, I always like to remind people that hiring experts at the outset like you actually saves them money down the line. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Oh, happy to do that. And I'm even going to go so far to say that most people, when divorce comes up, whether they're initiating it or it's being served, on them,
Yep.
the first thought is hire a divorce attorney. And that's not a bad thing, but I will tell you, if you can do a lot more homework before you hire the attorney, you're going to be so much more prepared and save a lot of money. So this is the thing is I will have people, of course, the divorce financial planning that I do, there is a fee for that. There's a
Mhm.
cost involved, but there's so much value out of it. But I'll have women say, well, I can't afford to do that because I got to pay, 10,000 for a retainer. And I'm like, girl, I hear you, but you can't afford not to spend that money. So sometimes, I have to explain the value, what how they're going to avoid financial pitfalls, avoid huge tax bills, all the things, and just remind them that they're worth it and they're making an investment in their future. And then I'll actually help them brainstorm the ways that they can come up with the money
Mm.
because, we're resourceful. We have things that we don't need, we can sell. Yeah, it's not fun. Even our wedding ring,
Mhm.
if we can come up with the resources. It's just having the mental mindset that you are worth every penny that you invest in yourself so that you're making informed decisions, not emotional ones.
I love that. So can you give us a little bit of like a overview of what types of financial pieces you help women with?
Absolutely. So, outside of the scope of divorce, I do financial planning and investment management and covering all of the insurance needs. But within the context of divorce, when you work with me, what we do is we start with data gathering. We pull together all of the things that you know or that you have access to. And then we have a conversation about what's it most important to you? What would be the best outcome? Literally, Olivia, it's kind of like if you could wave the magic wand, what would you like to have? What are
Mm.
you willing to give up? What do you want to keep? How are you going to protect the children? And we look at that, and then I put on my CDFA hat and say, well, if you ask for this and you get this, this is what your financial reality is going to look like the day the divorce is finalized, a year from now, 5 years, and 10 years from now. Okay.
Right.
And I'm going to give them the flavor of what's realistic versus what's not. Because, we can want it all, but we're not going to get it all because everything's going to be divided, 50-50 or
Right.
equitably. So that's kind of the first step. But then with that, they're going into whether it's mediation or negotiating with their spouse, they're literally a little bit more grounded in what they could be asking for. So once they've made that offer or their spouse has made an offer to them, that's where I come back and I say, okay, well, let's play like we accept what he's offering you. How would that look? Would you be able to manage with that? And if not, now we just kind of re-grease the skids and say, okay, well, what if we do this instead? But
Right.
my role is to really help you understand, like using the most common example, women with young children almost always say, I have to keep the house without considering whether or not they can get refinanced for the mortgage, if they can afford the maintenance of the home, all of the things that comes along with that. So I'm kind of peeling back the onion and helping you look at, yeah, I may want this, but what's it going to mean for me financially?
Right. Which is so important because we just don't know when we're going through this time. And we're also in a deep state of trauma often, right? Do you work with women in the consideration phase of divorce before they even really talk to their spouse?
I absolutely do. I do a monthly divorce workshop
You
that,
do.
for specifically for women, and that's the majority of the people that come to that are thinking about it, and it is the most grounding time to get educated because a lot of women they stay in a marriage because they feel like they can't afford to be on their own, and that may just be a myth, a story that they're telling themselves. So, being in the thinking about divorce stage is the ideal time to be reaching out to experts, including a divorce coach,
Mhm.
to say, help you get grounded in what is it that you really want and what do I want to do going forward. So yes, the consideration stage is definitely when we want to be talking with you and helping you.
And you do have wonderful monthly programs that are free and people can go and learn. And it's fantastic. I tell everybody that I talk to go to them. So,
So
um, so you also have some wonderful books. Can you tell us about your books?
I certainly can. So I have two that are specific to divorce. The first one is Divorce Decoded, and that's a manifesto for women navigating divorce and beyond. And that one is very comprehensive because we have different professionals that work in all aspects of divorce. And everybody tells their own personal story because they've all been down that path. Then they also share with us client experiences. So it's real, real stories that people can relate to. Now, the second book that's just been published is called A Woman's Guide to Financial Security and Fair Settlement. And this one is specifically on the money issues of divorce. So we break down everything that you need to be concerned about, that you need to consider, all of the things. It's just about money and divorce and how you're going to pull yourself together post-divorce and carry on.
Amazing and so necessary. I also send these links to everybody that I meet with. Before we let you go, Donna, if somebody is listening to this and they are considering divorce, but they feel really scared, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with?
I want to say that you aren't your marriage first, and you're not your mistakes, and you're not your money story, but you can be the author of your next chapter. And that's the thing is if you can look forward, we know that right now is an emotional upheaval, and we have to get through that. We have to experience the emotions and not stuff them, but just be forward focused because, you aren't your marriage. And I think a lot of us are just defined by our marriage. So that's what I would encourage people to do.
Amazing. We are so appreciative of you and all the work you do to support women in such a profound way. And we cannot wait for your new book to come out. Thank you for being part of our community and for supporting everybody. And we just appreciate you so much.
I'm delighted. Thank you.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.